are we going to jump over to the game that I am labeling absolute peak MLS football? Because that's exactly what it was. This is what I thought was going to be the cap on what was our crazy game of the week. I was wrong, clearly. Tim Melia-less SKC takes on Colorado that started off red hot and just couldn't find a win in this tournament. You get Acosta who opens up the scoring with a screamer, and then the rest of the half is just kind of like, whatever, right? And all hell breaks loose. Danny Wilson gets a straight red for Dogso, which I think is it was a right call. I don't have too much of an issue with that one. Shelton levels directly after that. And then VAR comes in and calls this PK off a handball. Could you call it? Maybe yes or no. I would have been okay either way had they not done it because I don't think he knew much about it. But I think the new rule is if it hits your hand, you're in the box, it's a penalty no matter what, which kind of sucks because he wasn't intentionally putting his hand up there. He was going to block his face. It caught him in the hand, and it barely caught it. It caught him just a little bit. Pulido scores to go 2-1. 2 minutes after that, Jack Price goes and says something about the ref's mom or something and gets sent off. And then Colorado go down to 9. Then John Lewis out of nowhere levels, and you're thinking this one's done. Colorado with 9 men, scrape out a point. And then USMNT Colt hero Graham Zusi at right back comes up and scores a jammy deflection in the 91st minute to win it. If that doesn't scream MLS, I don't know what league you've been watching, because that's exactly how these types of games go. Wild stuff happens. A team that shouldn't be in it gets the level, and then they get screwed over by some deflection or a bad referee call or something. Phenomenal game. Loved it. Really, really great. But I think this was retribution for the poor red card that Tim Melia was given last week. And I know Adam is going to try and defend something because he's wrong. And good. See, he's learned his ways. Definitely not a red against Tim Melia. Really thought it was harsh. And I think the VAR penalty was harsh. I think the red was probably the right call. And I think that the 9 men probably was retribution for that poor red card. I don't know. A little bit of justice there, but I don't think we've seen the peak of what SKC can be. They were good against my Minnesota, and then they got that red card and got broken apart because Richard Sanchez. That's it.
He is the worst goalie in Major League Soccer, by the way.
That's accurate.
That's terrible.
We talked about Daniel Vega, but Richard Sanchez is like up there.
It's a competition.
I want to see the mustache. Don't get me wrong. Like, that is the highlight of this tournament so far. It's dirty and wonderful all at the same time. But watching him when he came in for Melia after the red,
it was awful.
It was like they had put like a shirt on a fan and said, all right, get out there, have a good time. And he looked somehow worse, I feel like, in that match against Colorado. I don't understand. How does that man have a contract to be a goalie in Major League Soccer? That's terrible.
He was a starter for Chicago last year. After they were doing their goalkeeper rotation, he started like 5 or 6 games for them.
Yeah, he is awful.
Very, very poor. And somehow he picked up a win, so he could say he won a game in MLS. Good for him.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen peak, right? We haven't seen what SKC can truly be. Then they get this game in game 2, and you get a couple of reds, and you're like, okay, so they should beat up on this 9-man team. And they concede to Colorado, who have 9 men. And it wasn't like a jammy goal. Colorado broke them down with 9 men. That's awful. So I like SKC. I like a lot of what they've got going on for them. But I'm worried that the fact that, 1, we still haven't seen them at their best, and 2, when they had the upper hand, they got picked apart. It's worrying. Granted, they had Sanchez in goal, so we'll put a little asterisk next to that. But I'm a little worried on that side. Colorado, I think, is okay. They haven't performed well in the tournament. They showed great heart to get back into it 9 men, and I think they were really unlucky to lose. I thought they did enough to get at least a point in that game, and I think they're going to be fine going back to the regular season. I know they don't have a great showing in this tournament, but I think going back to it, I think they'll be okay. I picked them to go do really well in this tournament, and it didn't pan out. Fine, whatever. I'm not worried in the slightest about if and when we get back to the league. I'm not worried in the slightest. SKC, on the other hand, not so sure. I think Peter Vermees has a lot to deal with back there. I think all that back line is kind of just, they're getting run down. we talk about it a lot, this SKC team. They've had the same starting 11 for like 9 years outside of like 2 players. So I think it's something they need to really look at, because I think they're just getting worn down. I think they're tired. I think they're older, they're slower, and they're just getting beat down. So going back in the regular season, I think SKC are going to struggle a little bit more than Colorado. But again, this is MLS. Who knows? But
That group
Yeah.
is very open.
I think that there are 2 types of teams in this tournament, right? There are teams that are using this tournament to see what they have from their young guys, to try different things out in formations, to experiment a little bit, right? And I think that's Colorado, personally. I think Colorado, they have so much turnover over the last couple of years. I mean, to think about who they brought on that was part of the, 22 or 23, not the 18 right now, right?
Mhm.
They're bringing in Kai Kamara. They're bringing in Austin Trusty. They're bringing in Jonathan Lewis. They didn't even bring in our MLS Rookie of the Year last year, Shinyashiki, right? They've got a lot of talent that isn't even playing. And I think they're just trying to see what things look like out there between Keegan Rosenberry and Lalas Abubakar. These guys are Sam Vines, who somehow keeps making national team appearances. I don't know what's going on there, but I think they're a team with a lot of talent, but I don't think they ever came in my opinion, to try to win the COVID Cup. I think they're trying to play things out and see what things look like. Whereas you can legitimately make the case that SKC is trying to win these games and try to win this tournament. And if anything, Alan Pulido looks great, right? Like, he's poaching goals, he's doing good things, and he seems to be like a great DP signing for that squad. And I didn't know that he would translate as well to SKC and what they do. But I think it's a classic match, too, of what are the teams trying to do with these 3 games that they know they have, and then go from there. And I think Colorado, honestly, I don't think they're trying to win the thing. I think they're trying to figure themselves out on the fly here. And like you just mentioned, that was a great observation. I think Sporting is going to try and figure it out during the regular season, and they're just trying to win this cup.